Hello everyone, this is the Solo Transformer Assault Group with my first ever video review on this beautiful day. And as you can see, it is the Transformers Cyberverse Ultra Class Ramjet. I saw this in stores after my fiance and I were done looking at an apartment, and I immediately had to cancel my Amazon pre-order. And like I said, I was not expecting to even see this in stores yet. So let's take him out and take a look. Check out his null rays. Plug those on and let's get into it. Alright, so here's Ramjet. He's, I would say, a tall deluxe, but not quite Voyager. There we go. This is him. As you can tell, there is some paint. The gray in here is paint. The yellow on the cockpit is paint. All this on his knees are paint. Face painted, eyes painted. But details that would be in these inlets and the headband looking piece, that's not painted on him. But here he is from the side. And of course, like nearly every Cyberverse seeker, except I believe the Deluxe Starscream, the cockpit on the chest is not the actual cockpit on the jet. Now, here's it from the back. You see the Decepticon symbol on his butt. Turn back around. That's him. For accessories, he has the two null rays on his arms, and if you spin him around, you could detach his thrusters. And these form like a double-sided club weapon. And one of them has this peg in here. You could fold that out. Peg that into his hand. And peg the other part in. And, yeah, that's certainly a club made of thrusters. It definitely feels something very Cyberverse-y. And honestly, it feels in keeping with Ramjet's typical characterization of smashing into things. So I think it just makes sense he would rip a part of his body off and beat a bot with it. So, I mean, no complaints from me. But at least a positive is, as you can tell, it could fit on the back of his legs and it doesn't impede his stability. Alright. Now fold that in and just peg that right onto the back again. Alright, now let's go over articulation. There's none at the head, he is just staring straight. I'll start with this arm first. This one has a ball joint that goes all the way around, out. As you can tell, a ball joint here. Spins and goes in and out. For the legs, the hips are on ball joints. Go up that far. Back, really not at all, because it bumps up to the back part here. Pull that arm out. And the legs go up that far. It would go higher, but this large wing piece just hits the side of his body. And he does actually have knees. I remember some of the promo pictures, it really didn't look like he had them, but no, he in fact has them. It's a lot of stuff going on, so it doesn't really look that great, but at least he has it. The one other thing to talk about with this figure, and is definitely a recent trend with these Cyberverse Ultras, is their spark armor gimmick. Now, this one is activated with his left arm. It flips like an eagle head up, but it's a little touch and go with it, mostly because of this backpack. So you would take his left arm and then you would spin it up, and that's what's mostly done with me. It just opens, but flip that and it has this translucent eagle head and chest. It really reminds me of the of one of the Breast Force members with this, at least in regards to the animal motif on his head. If I was designing this, I wouldn't even have picked an eagle. Being at Ramjet, I probably would have just picked a ram or even a rhinoceros instead. You know, I feel like that's more Ramjet than Eagle, but that's just my opinion. And that just pegs in under the head, and there's a little catch in there. The part that will flip over his crotch flips in, down, close that up. And just to show you that this is not held on by any peg, and it's the same exact way in vehicle mode as well. And it can be a bear to close this. Alright, there we go. Now, I have some size comparisons. We'll start with the Deluxe Optimus and Megatron. Obviously, they're Deluxes. That's an Ultra. It's a little bit bigger, but that's that. Talking about Ultras, here is the older Ultra class Slipstream, and she is a lot larger than he is. Move them in. And she is having a hard time standing up. She's going to be leaning forward a little bit, but there we go. You can tell, even though they're both Ultras, they're both Seekers, she is far larger than this figure. She doesn't have the Spark Armor, Energon armor gimmick thing, but her articulation is nowhere near as good as Ramjet's. And let's bring in the Stag himself. This is the MFT Oversize Iron Factory 6-shot, which this is the 6-shot I use for my Cyberverse shelf. And probably the most important size comparisons. Here he is with the Deluxe Starscream. And again, Ultra Deluxe Ramjet's going to be bigger and just have more mass on him than Starscream, although Starscream is miles better than that Ramjet. And this one right here is the Earthrise Voyager Starscream. Again, not as big as a full-on Voyager. I did see people wondering how it would look together because the Earthrise Ramjet is so unobtainable, or it is obtainable for a crazy cost, but this is how they look together. Obviously, the aesthetic doesn't match. Earthrise is far more detailed, far more G1 oriented versus Cyberverse. Cyberverse's more smooth, kiddie appeal to it. But if anyone was wondering how that would look on the shelf, I mean, maybe someone will be able to get away with it. I just would not really have them standing next to each other. But here's how that looks with each other. There we go. Now let's get into transformation of this figure. Take the null rays off. You could flip up the cockpit here, unpeg it from there, flip it up. And sometimes this nose cone likes to really pop out. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but it just easily pops in. It's just friction. Fold that out. And of course the head is just sticking out. You could peg the legs together. And these arms swing out on these armatures. So you would fold the armature out, spin that around, drop it back down, fold out, rotate it from the shoulder, push down, and then fold down the wing. And there is this peg right here, and that pegs into the hole right there. So it hides the arm. And again, here you could see the keyed piece, and you can see how it rotates when you rotate the arm. And there's the keyhole, and that is what would flip up the head for the eagle gimmick. Rotate, down, rotate again, down again. Again, down the wing, peg that in, and then these rear fins pop up. And then the null rays can go into these VTOL fans. And these VTOL fans, they really remind me of Thrust. Like, this really reminds me of Thrust and Ramjet kind of fused a little bit. So here's the jet mode. See it from the back. Here. This side. The underside, which is just a robot with his arms broken. And again, just to show you that this does not peg in at all. It just hangs very loosely. But yes, this is the jet mode, and I actually do like this jet mode. I really like this like smoothness right here with next to those vents. Now I'm going to pause this, and I could transform the other guys to do some vehicle mode size comparisons, and we'll just wrap this up. Alright, I'm back for size comparisons. Here he is with the deluxe size Megatron. The deluxe size Optimus. Next with the Ultra Class Slipstream. And here you could see just how much larger Slipstream is compared to Ramjet. I would say, I guess in vehicle mode, it's not as apparent, but she is wider and longer, but you know, it's far more visible in robot mode. The deluxe class Starscream, and Starscream is very tiny compared to Ramjet. He compacts up a lot more. And finally, his wing is not cooperating, but finally, the Earthrise Starscream. And again, Starscream is wing length, they're about the same. Maybe Ramjet's is a little bit bigger, but in terms of length, nah, Starscream definitely has him beat. And you know, Starscream just looks so much nicer, but I mean, these figures are so much different. They're not competing for the same kind of market. So I guess final thoughts. He's alright. Is he worth the money? Objectively, no. This figure is not worth the, I believe, was $20 I paid. Like I said, not worth it. But if you're into Cyberverse, if you're into the aesthetic, which for whatever reason I'm into the aesthetic, and if you just want a very fun Ramjet figure just to mess around with, I think he's worth it. But objectively, no. But there he is. Guys, please, and this is my first ever video review. From what I understand, this is the first ever video review of this specific figure. So whether you enjoyed this review or not, have a great day. And yeah, happy hunting.